Hey Home Base Nation, my name is Chris Manzano and I'm the athletic trainer and strength and conditioning specialist for Home Base. Today, we're going to go over the FITT principle, which is a basic concept that we consider when designing our own exercise programming for our athletes, for our patients, anyone at home base. So the FITT principle is going to start with your goal. So once you decide your fitness goals or your exercise goals, the things you want to reach when you're working out. So once you have a goal in mind, which we'll kind of go over at the end and how we can apply this to certain goals, you're going to use this and design your own program using these 4 words. So the FITT principle is an acronym for frequency, intensity, time, and type. And we'll go over each of these in detail. So frequency refers to the amount of times you're going to be exercising or amount of sessions you're going to be doing in a given amount of time. So in the strength and conditioning world, that time is typically a week. And when we mean frequency, we mean how many times you're going to exercise or how many sessions you're going to have during that 1 week. So again, it's going to be dependent on your goals, but we'll say to start, for example, 3 to 5 times a week you want to exercise. So that's frequency. Intensity refers to the amount of weight or the difficulty of the work that you're doing during those exercise sessions. So when we mean difficulty, that can mean a number of things. That can mean the amount of sets, reps, the weight you're using, the percent of your 1 rep max that you're using if we're considering strength. The speed that you're doing it with, the amount of power. So a lot of different variables. Again, we'll go over it at the end once we talk about goals. So sets, reps, weight, percent of your 1 rep max, speed. Now time. Time is the amount of time spent during your workout or your sessions. So again, it's gonna vary based on your goals. And it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna depend on your goals and what you're aiming for. But typically, what you're gonna wanna think about is the type of exercise you're doing. The more intense something is, the less time you wanna spend on it. So, and vice versa. So, the more intense equals the less time you're likely gonna spend on it, depending on your fitness level, or vice versa. So, the less intense, the more time you can spend on it. Good. And the last one is type, which refers to the kind of exercises you're doing for your goals. So again, depending on your goals, if your goal is strength, you're going to be doing strength kind of exercises. So, something like pull-ups, push-ups, dumbbell work, barbell work. Oops. If your goal is hypertrophy, you're going to be doing the same exact stuff, which hypertrophy is just muscle growth. You'll be doing the same exact stuff, but it's going to be dependent on the intensity of your workout. So the sets, the reps are going to change for those same workouts. They're still similar exercises, but you're doing different intensities and different loads and things like that. It's also going to be dependent on if you're doing cardio or muscular endurance, things like that. So this is what the FITT principle stands for. Frequency, intensity, time, and type. So what we're going to go over next is a quick example of how we can build this into our plan. So, and I'll probably go over this in a later video, but what we can think about is, let's say your goal is hypertrophy. You want big muscles. So the amount of time, for a basic plan, the amount of times you would want to work out is anywhere between 4 to 6 times a week. So you want to train different muscle groups on different days. You never want to do the same muscle group on consecutive days. Intensity, again, depending on what your goals are. Right now it's hypertrophy, but what type of hypertrophy? We'll work on, 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 12 reps. So again, we're working on, our example is hypertrophy. Ten to 12 reps, somewhere between 55 and 75%, probably about 65 to 80% of your 1 rep max. So your 1 rep max is the time you can do 1 rep of a certain exercise at a certain amount of rep weight without enough energy to do a second rep. So, you see a lot of this in your barbell bench presses and squats and deadlifts and things like that. But again, something we can go over in depth, but this is a basic plan. So the amount of time. So depending on the amount of intensity you have in your workout, that's gonna be dependent on your time. So for a hypertrophy workout, the amount of active time, not including your warm up and cool down, is somewhere gonna be between 45 and 60 minutes. Now, again, it's just a general time. It could be a little bit lower, it could be a little bit higher, depending on how much energy you have that day. It depends. There's a lot of different factors play into it. So the last FITT principle acronym, type. So the type of exercise, again, depending on our goal, if we're working on hypertrophy, it's going to be strength building exercises. So things like bench presses, rows, squats, any variation of upper and lower body exercise. Again, what you want to do is work on compound movements. And what a compound movement is, it's an exercise that involves 2 joints. So I have the big compound movements here. We'll add deadlifts because that's a traditional lift. We have an upper body push, an upper body pull, and a squat and a deadlift. Those are the big compound lifts that we focus on here at home base. They're all movements that involve 2 joints or more. So, the bench press is shoulders and elbows. Rows are shoulders and elbows. Squats are ankles, knees, hips. Same thing with the deadlift. So it's something that's gonna involve a lot of different joints, which recruits a lot of muscle activation, helping you get to your goal of hypertrophy. So that's a basic rundown of a FITT principle with an example of hypertrophy. So the great thing about the FITT principle is it allows you to have a plan. It allows for consistent work over time, and consistency is key when it comes to exercise, nutrition, things like that. Consistency is gonna help you build your hypertrophy over time. And you're not going to see results in 1 to 2 weeks. You'll most likely see results anywhere between 2 to 4 months, 6 months if you really want to get into it. See the real good results for a consistent training program like this. So that's another thing. When you're building your program, allow for a little bit of variation, because if you have a set program that just has a linear progression, something we'll go over next time, it can get a little stale. So allow for variation. Your program's not going to suffer because one day you want to go running instead of lifting because you're just tired of lifting. You want to avoid that overtraining syndrome. Another topic we can discuss at another time. And at the end of the day, designing your own program carefully, it helps with injury prevention. It helps with decrease that risk for injury as well as overtraining. So that's a basic rundown of the FITT principle. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. It's something that, you could find a lot of information about online, let alone at home base. So we hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at home base, and we hope to see you next time.